So we are all good.
I guess we could start. I'll start the introduction. Everybody is being let in, and if Nicole does pop in, all the better. I guess she's going last of the crew. So, good evening and welcome to Artist Talk on Art on Monday, November 28th, 2022. I'm Doug Shear, President. ATOA is the art world's longest running and preeminent forum for ideas in art. In its 48 years of existence, it has featured over 8,500 artists, critics, historians, curators, and collectors in over 1,000 panels and dialogues, most of which have been recorded. The bulk of that archive resides in Washington, D.C. at Archives of American Art of the Smithsonian Institution. Let me mention next week's event, which is December 5th, also Monday, called May Day Earth. 13 contemporary artists will gather to discuss our climate emergency with escalating environmental damage, including melting ice caps, rising seas, species decline, extreme precipitation, methane explosions, and phytoplankton loss with ocean degradation. The artists will include Marcia Annenberg, she's actually the organizer, Chris-Ann Baker, Lois Bender, Walter Brown, Janet Culbertson, who I consider a friend, Noreen Dean Dresser, Danielle Eubank, Kathy Levine, Angela Mano, Susan Hoffman Fishman, Lisa Reindorf, Christian Petropiana, and Ann Arshapiro. I should note this could only work in Zoom when you have 13 people. Otherwise, it's pretty difficult to do as a physical event. So back to tonight's event. Tonight's panel of curatorial experts from Hudson Valley Contemporary Arts Institutions couldn't be better related to ATOA. I say that because since 1974, more than 500 artists identified with the Hudson Valley or the Catskills or nearby areas have appeared at ATOA, either panels or dialogues. This ATOA copyrighted event is being provided via Zoom and recorded, and will soon be posted to the Artist Talk on Art YouTube channel, where you'll also find many past talks of ours. And as a theme, this one couldn't be more timely for ATOA and the Valley, because for over a century, and increasingly over the post-World War II decades, the area has grown as a hub for both art making and the provision of outlets for it, whether galleries or museums. This has particularly built up in a series of spurts, one very strong one after 9/11, and another more recently during the COVID pandemic. The area is now enjoying nothing less than an out-and-out boom. One of the arbiters of that boom and its impact is Elisa Pritzker, who has taken on organizing this panel and will moderate it tonight. A little bit now about Elisa. Elisa Pritzker is an Argentine-born American artist working in 2- and 3-dimensional art, along with installation art. She has exhibited at MoMA, the Queen's Museum, the Dorsky Museum, Skirball Museum, Aiken Museum, Espronceda, Barcelona, K Salon, Berlin, in large and small group exhibitions. Throughout her career, she has had the privilege of being featured in many solo exhibits at various museums and art spaces, such as Hudson Valley MOCA, formerly known as HVCCA, Hammond Museum, Saletta Kenzica Art Gallery in Italy, Casa Argentina in Jerusalem, Art and Art Luz, and Alfonso Castillo Foundation in Buenos Aires. Pritzker participated in the 2015 Jerusalem Biennale and the 2015-16 Iceland Biennale. Her art was included at the Affordable Art Fairs in New York City and London, London Biennale Creative Village Median Party in Berlin, Germany, Pinta Fair, New York City, Fountain Art Fair, New York City, and Art BA in Buenos Aires. She was selected as a U.S. representative for the Pyramids of Naxos environmental art project at the 2004 Greek Olympics. From 2014 to 2012, she was represented by Franklin 54 Gallery in New York City. Currently, she exhibits with several galleries and institutions, not only in the US, but abroad. Collected privately worldwide, Pritzker's artwork is in the permanent collections of the Jean Kirky Art Collection, Paris and New York, Brooklyn Art Library, Brooklyn, New York, Dorsky Museum, New Paltz, Argentine Consulate in New York City, Jerusalem Biennale, Jerusalem, Israel, Iceland Art Biennale in Iceland, Weissman Gallery, Rogue Community College, Grants Pass, Oregon, SUNY Ulster, Stone Ridge, New York Eye and Ear Infirmary, New York City, Global Art Project Tucson, Luz and Alfonso Castillo Foundation, Buenos Aires, Esperancita, Barcelona, Drupka, Barcelona, and the Hammond Museum in North Salem, New York. Among many publications, she was featured on the PBS channel, CNN in Spanish, HuffPost, Chronogram magazine. Her work is mentioned in hypoallergic several times, and her Eclectica store was showcased in the New York Times. And now, without further ado, Elisa.
Thank you, Doug. I didn't expect the full length of a bio. Next time we can shorten. But anyway, with the speed of Thanksgiving weekend, I want to thank ATOA for giving me this chance to talk to 4 powerful women from the Hudson Valley. I'm really honored to be moderating this panel, and I cannot thank in that spirit Karlyn, Mara, Elizabeth, and Nicole. It's really a pleasure to be with you. I know how extensive your bios are, and you know, I don't know if Doug will read them, but I know how, you know, the length of your careers and the commitment, professionals like you. Thank you for being here with this group of people. We are eager to hear what you have to say, because we are always artists, and the arts community have an eye on the museums and institutions, as big as institutions that you represent this evening. So I would like to start with Karlyn, that I know in person, and I admire her capacity, her curatorial capacity. I know Karlyn had a gallery in Beacon. She also worked at the Metropolitan Museum and MoMA. Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for that. And now she's the interim curator at the Dorsky Museum. I will start with you, Karlyn, and I would like, you know, with all the information that we have online, I think that will be great to have a general idea what the Dorsky Museum is, location, if it is a free entrance, if you is a museum, does courses, guided visits. Tell us about the general idea, and what do you do daily at the museum?
Okay, hi, Elisa. Thank you for inviting me to participate. Well, the Dorsky Museum is located on the campus of SUNY New Paltz in New Paltz, New York, kind of right in the center of the Hudson Valley. The museum has more than 9,000 square feet of exhibition space, and it's distributed over 6 galleries. We serve the campus community as well as the broader community. We want to be there for pretty much everyone. We're free and open to all. There's no admission fee. And we do work a lot with schools, a lot of education programs. We also work with university classes that come in for tours, as well as other schools throughout the area, depending on the exhibition that we have on view. And the Dorsky Museum actually began about 65 years ago as the university, I hope I'm saying that right, the College Art Gallery. But in 2001, the actual Dorsky Museum that we have today was opened, and we had, there was a new building. And so the Dorsky Museum is only about a little over 20 years old in its current form. So yeah, and so I am the interim curator and exhibitions manager, and I started my position in April of this year. And I mostly oversee managing exhibitions that are coming up in the future and making sure that everything is in place for the exhibition to be installed. And we always have a few things going on at the same time. So I'm working on exhibitions now that might be 2 years in the future. As far as curating, I have an opportunity to curate an exhibition that's opening in February. It's called Homespun, and it's artists in the Hudson Valley who work with fabric and fiber, different kinds of textiles in their work. And so I'm working on that right now, and that'll, like I said, that'll open in February 4th.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. So what about Mara? Mara Mills,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I've been working with Hudson Valley MOCA since 2005. Livia Strauss and Mark Strauss founded the museum in 2001 and opened the doors in 2004. And their goal was, there's a 10,000 square foot area made up of a big, large gallery downstairs, very interestingly set up with walls. So juxtaposition is not just next to, but can be around the corner. And it's a very interesting curating issue, therefore. I have been everything from deputy director to event person, and now my theater company is located in the museum, which means that we have integrated more and more between literary performance and the art in the museum, which we started in 2005. So this is our 17th year of collaboration. There is a exhibit up now in the main gallery called How We Live, which is both rotating and permanent. The permanent parts and some of the rotating parts come from the Strauss collection itself. And some of the work comes from outside. It's national and international in scope. And it's a fascinating look at how both a collector and curator look at art all the time. We do something called Writing the Walls, which is the collaboration we have. And it's where poets, playwrights come in and become inspired by a piece of art, and they write, it's chosen, and then the work is, we have had poets walks where almost 100 people have followed us from one piece to another as the poet speaks. And like I said, that's 17 years old. We do a lot of work with the community, and the nice thing about a lot of the artists we have that are not necessarily international is that we get to actually work with them on curating things, which is how Elisa and I have worked together when she was exhibiting at the museum. It's a very it can be very one-on-one in a space, or it can be a guest curator, or it can be Livia doing the curating with the rest of us standing around going, well, what about this? So it's a very collaborative museum, and I think that's the most important part of it. We are involved with the education in Peekskill. We service artist residencies from kindergarten up through high school, and every year the high school comes in. They learn everything from how to docent to how to write about art, how to run the front desk. In other words, they learn what it is to be in a museum. And then they have their own exhibit in our upper gallery every year for 3 months, which is the art they've made with the artists in residence and with their own art teachers. And that they also curate by themselves with some advice, and they take people through. So I guess it's a fun place to be.
Okay, Mara, thank you. And we have Elizabeth now from WAM. I'm kind of touching the basics because we hear the name, but I don't know if all this audience visited or, the places that we are, mentioning tonight. So Elizabeth from WAM, from Woodstock, thank you for being with us and nice meeting you. And
So nice to be here. Thank
the
you for inviting.
the same question to you.
Welcome to friends and acquaintances who I'm seeing, and so nice to meet people who I haven't met yet. My name is Liz Keithland. I'm the exhibitions director for the Woodstock Artists Association and Museum. We're located at 28 Tinker Street in Woodstock. The real estate agents on the call will say, location, location, location. It's a really lively place to work. And I'm so happy about that. Another interim gallery director position that I had was at Wheaton College, and you'd work really, really hard to mount these wonderful exhibitions, and then, maybe 100 people would see it. That's not the case with WAM. We get people from all over the world because we're a tourist town. And it's given me a new appreciation for what that means. We sell work, we get donations from that. So it's an interesting spot. We're tiny. I think Karlyn probably has at least, I don't even want to guess how many employees the Dorsky has, but we're just 5. We have Nicole Goldberg as the executive director. We have an archivist, a gallery manager, an education director, and me. So, we get a lot done with a small staff. We're open Thursdays through Sundays from noon to 5. We have 5 galleries, 4 of which turn over every 4 to 6 weeks. So we are very busy. And I like that. That's a good pace because we're a members organization as well as a museum. We, of course, as a 501c3, we're a charitable institution. We serve our community, we serve the public, but as a members organization, we serve the membership. And so we made the decision just post-COVID to add shows for next year. And I'm happy about that because that means artists get more chances to show. The Tobin wing is the one wing that we do not turn over, every 5 to 6 weeks. The Tobin is a curated space that is from our collection. It's curated by the executive director, Nicole Goldberg, as well as guest curators. Many esteemed colleagues have done that over the years. In the main gallery, we feature juried shows because we don't curate outside of the Tobin, and that's very important to know about WAM. I am an independent curator. I've worked a lot of other places curating, but that's not my role at WAM. I work with jurors. The exhibition committee recommends names for me to contact and Nicole to contact, and that's mainly how we keep what we do fresh, because we've been in existence since 1919. Like a lot of institutions in Hudson Valley, we're over 100 years old. And so we have a unique challenge to continually refresh what we do. And I feel like jurors are a good way to help us do that.
We lost Elizabeth for a moment. We lost you, Elizabeth. I don't know what you said at the end.
Oh, okay. Just very quickly, 3 things to know about our bylaws. 1, our exhibition committee makes all of our policy decisions around what gets shown. 2, our bylaws require that, with the exception of the national call for Far and Wide, an annual show that we do, everything that we do features artists within a 50-mile radius of Woodstock. We have a lot of talent here, so that's not a problem. You know, we show a lot of great work, but it does uniquely position us.
Yes, and that is why I am asking this, and the next question will be, you know, just to understand what are each institution serving, what is the focus, and what kind of arts community you are serving. And I see Nicole, and I'm so happy to see Nicole and meeting you. How are you?
I'm well. It's been great.
Well, thank you for being here. You are, well, your institution is just a big name. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Yeah.
Can you introduce, you know, the institution and where it's located? I mean, general idea, so we can visit, we can just support and visit.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm so happy to be here with so many great Hudson Valley institutions that I admire and love visiting. So I am curator and project manager at Art OMI. We are a 120-acre sculpture and architecture park in Ghent, New York. So we're 15 minutes outside of the city of Hudson. We began actually as a residency program 30 years ago, inviting artists from all over the world to the Hudson Valley and to come here and make work in a dairy barn on this country road. And OMI is actually the name of the place. We're in the town of Ghent, but New York being its beautiful, quaint little self, we're in the hamlet of OMI, which was its own community in the late 19th century. So 30 years ago, we started bringing these group of international artists in. I think that's kind of important because so many people that were once residents here have gone on to have amazing art careers. And in addition to that, a lot of those people end up coming back to the Hudson Valley. So I think we have this little bit of influence of people come here, they have a great 4 weeks, 3 weeks in residence, and then decide to come back at another point in their life and career. So we host artists, musicians, dancers, architects, translators, and writers in our residency program. In 97, 98, the Sculpture and Architecture Park at Art OMI began. And that serves as a rotating group of exhibitions every year. We are not a collecting institution like Storm King per se, that is really building a collection of modernist works. We operate more as a contemporary art center type of model. So while the installations you'll see at Art OMI appear to be like very solid and could stand the test of time, many of them are scheduled to be there from 2 to 5 years. So things are coming in on loan from artists, on loan from galleries. We're looking at what is happening in the public art world, who is new in sculpture, and inviting those folks to Art OMI to make works that could be as large as an earthwork and be semi-permanent, but technically they're kind of invited for about 2 to 5 years. There's a tiny collection that are mostly works donated by the founder, Francis Greenberger. So being outside, we see a really diverse audience, which is something that I really love about Art OMI. We are open dawn to dusk every day. So that really allows us to be a place for the community. There's people who show up at 7:30 in the morning with their dogs to go for a walk. And that's like a little group of neighbors right from this kind of tiny place. And you can even come, as the sun is setting, which is a beautiful time of day. We grew a lot in the last couple of years, and now are welcoming between 40 and 50,000 visitors every year to Art OMI. In addition to the sculpture park, where we install 2 to 3 new exhibitions a year, we also have the Newmark Gallery, where we do 3 to 4 exhibitions a year, typically 1 in architecture, and then 2 to 3 bringing in kind of, sorry, my dog is being a little bit annoying. Bringing in the, some of like the, sometimes some of the more like heavy hitters from the art world, people like David Shrigley, currently showing Alana Clark, which is a dual exhibition with Bennington. So kind of finding a way to network with another local institution. And Alana is a young artist who recently came out of the Next Haven program in New Haven, Connecticut. Teaches out in Detroit and actually lived in Troy for a while, but is making work out of hair bonding glue. So really somebody who's raising social issues with their work, and as well as exploring materials in really innovative, strange new ways. What else can I tell you about Art OMI? So one thing that's really unique about the program is, in addition to the art side, we also have a program for architects. So we have 2 lead curators in the program, Sarah O'Keefe, who is lead in the sculpture program, and Julia Vandenhout, who is our architecture curator. We bring in 2 or 3 pieces to the architecture park every year and host an architecture exhibition in our gallery. So we're really unique even in the United States, the only park that kind of has this focus on architecture within it. And yeah, I think I'll kind of stop there, but we can jump back in at some other
Yeah.
point.
Well, you tap into something that I wanted to, to bring tonight. It's about what kind of art each place collects, if there is a permanent collection. So just for all of us, the arts community, to know what the Dorsky collects, what the Hudson Valley MOCA collects, and you already, Nicole, told us, and we need to know from Elizabeth. So it will be nice if, Mara, you can tell us what the Hudson Valley MOCA collects, and then Karlyn, and then we have Elizabeth. So we know what is what each
coming
of
to
the
see.
institutions are collecting. It's
Sure.
a very important topic for artists to know. So
I should start by saying which I forgot, we are in Peekskill, New York, where arts really changed a town, and we are very proud to be part of that. In terms of the collection, like I said, it's international. It's also contemporary art, which gives us a chance to take visitors around and talk about actually having a dialogue with the art, because it's right there, it's new, it's in front of you for the first time, and there are no rules about looking at it. So I'll stop there.
Okay. So, and you mentioned that it's part of the Livia and Mark Stroud's private collection, the majority of the works.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, fabulous. And what about Karlyn? Tell us about what the Dorsky collects that we are eager to know.
The Dorsky Museum's permanent collection holds more than 6,000 works of art, and the collection really spans a large range of work over a 4,000-year time period. It's pretty encyclopedic in nature, but the main area of focus is American art, and there's definitely an emphasis on the Hudson Valley and the Catskill region. Especially 19th century American prints, photography, and contemporary metals. We also have an annual Hudson Valley Artist Show, and every year, which is usually a juried show, and then every year one artist, or it depends, sometimes more than one artist, but usually we acquire 1 or 2 pieces from that exhibition. So that's a way of really being up to date and incorporating contemporary artists who are sometimes emerging, you know, different levels, I guess, in that show, but that happens every year. So
That's
yeah.
great. So, and what about WAM? What is the permanent collection of WAM? You are muted, Elizabeth. You have to unmute yourself.
WHAM was founded in 1919, and we didn't start collecting until 1973. Having said that, we own work. I think the earliest piece we own is from 1864. We definitely focused first just on Woodstock artists, and then over time expanded to that 50-mile radius. We own over 2,000 objects. You know, paintings, prints, photographs, sculptures, decorative objects. We also have the Sam Klein Memorial Archive, which holds an extensive collection of materials referencing the artists whose work we have collected. You know, we own some really interesting work: Milton Avery, Peggy Bacon, Kuniyoshi, Kramer. But it's also important to note that, you know, especially under Nicole Goldberg's leadership, we are very much taking veering toward analyzing not only who we collect, but how the collection is used, where the collection will be stored. You know, we have a lot of work to do. We have an excellent collection, and I'm very proud of it. But I think it's, you know, if you look at HVAC, the Hudson Valley Artists Archive Collection Consortium, or whatever that stands for, which is a group of 5 in the syndicate, Dorsky being one of them, CPW is another, Women's Studio Workshop, and there's one other which Karlyn will tell you. But you know, if you look at the works that we've done, it's clear that we can do more. And the way that we're focusing on that is by who we invite to guest curate. Next year, we have a fantastic show I'm excited about with Evan Pritchard, a Native American who is working with us from his book about land justice. And this show will focus on landscape work that we own, and then text that Evan has written about the original settlers of that region. In conjunction with that, we'll be showing the work of Jeremy Dennis, who is having a moment like you can't believe as the solo artist. His work, this body of work that we've chosen to show, is also about land justice. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, thank you for that information. I didn't know that the collection expanded to more than Woodstock artists. That was something that I didn't know. So thank you for that information. And my last, question, and then I would like the all the attendees that jump on asking question is, what kind of exhibitions and what is the possibility to participate in those exhibitions? You explained, Elizabeth, that you have open calls. So if you can explain a little bit more, and Mara and Nicole, and also we heard from Karlyn that you have an annual Hudson Valley Artists Call. So if you can expand a little bit, I know that the art audiences, they want to know how they can be part of each institution. So I don't know who wants to answer the question or make comments about it. I mean, what kind of exhibits you have? Some of you already mentioned, but what will be the calendar and how artists can get closer to the institutions? How is the process to get closer? So do you want to talk, Mara? I mean,
Sure, I'll do it. We have actually, outside the museum down at the Peekskill waterfront, we also work with the city to have a collection, a sculpture collection, and that is added to every year. And this year, through a DRI grant and an open call, something called Illuminate Peekskill. It's a juried exhibition of illuminated sculptures, which will go from the railroad station by the river and come all the way up to into the middle of town. There is no real illumination, so this has a practical purpose as well. We also are working with artists to create murals in town and to create murals within the arches down at the railroad station. Within the museum, we are right now having an open call, another fabric show called Through the Eye of the Needle. That will be upstairs. Again, different things will change downstairs, but upstairs is really a gallery for a juried show or a community-based show. In this case, we're doing Address Earth, which is an ecological show. So that changes. It was interesting. You said when that goes on for about 3 months upstairs, and then something else comes in up there. So right now, if anybody is a fabric artist, on the Hudson Valley MOCA website, there is an open call that's open till December 8th.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mara. That's great. Karlyn, do you want to expand a little bit more about the Hudson Valley and if there is any
Sure.
other, and
Yes,
another way to be closer to the Dorsky?
So yeah, the only opportunity most artists would have to submit their work would be the Hudson Valley Artist Show, which I think had its 15th or 16th year this year. And this year, Nicole Hayes, who's on our panel, was the curator and the juror. We had over 300 submissions, and about 26, I think it was 26 artists were selected for the show. And each year, whoever the juror curator is, they choose the theme. So there is a theme that artists will know whether or not their work would fit into that theme. This year, the title of the show was The Material, the Thing. And there was some wonderful sculpture and work with unusual materials, multimedia work. So that was a really great show. It just came down a couple weeks ago. I'm sorry to say for the artists that the show I'm curating is next year, we're not having an open call because we are switching the exhibition from the summer to the winter. We would have had to do 2 open calls in 1 year, basically, to have everything ready for February. So the Hudson Valley Artist Show is going to, from now, starting in 2023, it's going to open in February. And so the upcoming one is by invitation only. But we will be having another open call in the fall of 2023 for 2024. So artists will have an opportunity to apply in 2023.
Very competitive, the Dorsky, and I saw the exhibit, and it was a wonderful exhibit. I mean, the material, the thing, I really enjoyed, and Nicole did a great job. It's a very competitive and very difficult to select an exhibit from the amount of applicants. But we know artists, we know that. So we have to continue submitting if the topic goes with our work, that we become strong and continue, right? So Nicole, what is how is the Art OMI working with artists? Do you have call, or it's always per invitation?
It's always by invitation. Currently, I think the best way to become involved as an artist is through the residency program. And I'm not sure, Art OMI is actually a pretty big organization. There's about 22 people on staff throughout the year, and that blooms in the summertime. So the residency is a little bit siloed from my side and exhibitions. For a little while there, we were having a sort of a slot reserved in the residency for one Hudson Valley artist. So that's and that's kind of shifted a little bit in the post-COVID years as we kind of redesigned the residencies to be you know, a little more safer and giving people a little bit more space. But that's certainly a great way to be involved. I mean, I also like to think that we function by sometimes bringing you your favorite artist to come to the Hudson Valley. So some of the shows for me, I know, have been people that I've, you know, admired and wanted to work with and be around their work for years, which is a big part of it. We are doing a show. Our next exhibition is an architecture show called Shared Spaces that will open in January. And that is showing 4 architecture collectives. So these are groups of architects that collaborate together to create projects, and some women-led architecture firms. So really reaching out and changing sort of some of the gender bias and some of the other bias within architecture. Architects who both will create a ceramics workshop that then becomes like they build the tiles that will be the facade of the building within the building that the architects design. So kind of shifting around what architecture can do. And there's going to be some collaborative audience elements in that exhibition. So you know, I think in some ways Artemai is really about this kind of nature balanced walk and the experience of being
That's great.
a landscape.
Sounds like great. Just I'm getting ready to visit that architecture.
Let me know, Elisa.
Yes, I love the idea, and I think that architecture has, like, you know, and women. Thank you for that too.
Yeah.
So, and we know one, many of us know one because it's an old institution. And I don't know if you want to add anything, Elizabeth. We know that you have a jury show every month, and for members, and the far and wide you mentioned is a more, you know, wider, exactly because of the name it says. Do you want to add anything else about how people, artists?
Yes, actually. I first want to acknowledge how great the question is. I'm also a working artist, so when somebody actually asks an institution, how can artists connect? That's a really important question, and one that artists are hungry for. You know, they are hungry for that kind of information. I know that often curators, they do need to set a boundary, and I respect that, and there's a reason for that. But I've also worked with enough curators where sometimes you can say, may I send you something? And, you know, what are they going to say? No. So that would be something I would encourage artists to think about, that it doesn't hurt to find out not what you can do for them, but what they need. That's been my experience, that that can be a very helpful place to start with a curator, to say, what are you working on? What are your concerns? But in general, for WHAM, I'm happy to say if you go to woodstockart.org and click on open calls, we have stuff all the time. And that is for members and non-members. Every juried show that we do is also open to non-members as long as they live within 50 miles. And I know you're in a rush, but I want to read you something really important, because this is something that WHAM offers that other institutions don't. In the past year, we've worked with Amber Kelly and Andrew Gorey from Spring Break, Nina Stritzler-Levine from BARD, Seth Rodney, the New York Times writer, Laura Vukels from the Hudson River Museum, Jane Dross-Johnson from Ice House, Jess Wilcox from Socrates, Henry Klimowitz from Re-Institute, Buzz Spector, Christy Rupp, China Blue, 3 artist jurors. One thing that WHAM can help you do is, even if you don't get selected for a juried show, your work is seen by them. If you do get chosen by our jurors, you can reach out to them, not only to thank them for choosing you, but to say, hey, you chose my work, are you interested? And to make a further connection. So please, if you are interested in WHAM, email me directly, elizabeth@woodstockart.org. Go to our website. You can get our 2023 submissions calendar, or go on our website and just click on open calls.
Yes, and we know that every institution has a website. So just by putting the name, you know, we can learn more. But I wanted just to bring general idea, because we know, and this is a time of information, and sometimes becomes misinformation. So I wanted to hear from each of you the basics, because, you know, it's better to have a representative and the quality of your work, just saying by your own words, not only read it by, on the website. So now I think if you don't want to add anything, if you want to add something, if not, I will go directly to the questions. I'm really, my style, every time that I have the possibility to coordinate, is just to give the chance to the attendees, no only a conversation with the four of you, okay? I don't know if you want to add anything else. If
Yeah.
not, I will ask Doug to
I was gonna,
go to the
I
questions.
don't see a lot in the chat, although
Mhm.
hopefully now maybe some people will post some things. But I was gonna say, putting on my Birdcliff hat as a board member of Birdcliff and a member of the exhibition committee, I would say that it would be good for people to know that that's quite an open process. So anyone that has a decent idea for an exhibition can submit a proposal. They'll find online the form necessary to do it. It's all the obvious things people on the committee want to see images. They want to see something about the background. They want to see mainly the concept. And on average, there are about 7 such exhibitions per year, and occasional special events. A real effort is made to be diverse. I would say I'm very proud of what we do there. And one of the few reasons why we didn't have a representative of Birdcliff was that they were undergoing a change of curators, a change of exhibition directors. So, and executive directors. So
Maybe a second panel for 2023.
oh,
ATOA can present.
certainly a possibility.
We have so many good institutions in the Hudson Valley. Just
Mhm.
adding a little bit, when I came to the Valley 30 years ago, I was rushing to New York City all the time. And now, from 15 years to now, I'm really, there is so much to do in the Hudson Valley.
Right.
I'm really proud of the institutions and everything that is happening. So again, thank you, the four of you. If you have something to add, if not, we'll go to the chat.
Well, I see
Yes,
a few,
Nicole, Nicole,
things in the,
yes.
I see a few things in the chat.
Yes, but Nicole waved, so she has priority.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Nicole. Go ahead,
It's so
Nicole.
the Zoom world is we're still getting
Yes.
used to it. No,
But
I
I
just
saw
kind of
your
wanted
hand.
to echo a little bit what Elizabeth was saying about, these opportunities where you're either jurying something or, I think all of us, the Hudson Valley art community is just like the best, right? There's just such a wonderful environment to be in. It's sort of the happier, friendlier art world, and it's such a diverse place, bringing in people from all over the world, not just the New York City overflow, as we sometimes like to think. And, I think about that a lot. Not only, obviously I'm curating exhibitions for Art My, and occasionally I get these wonderful opportunities to do something like for the Dorsky. But people ask me a lot, too. They're jurying something. There's a festival happening in Troy that opens pretty soon in December, I think next weekend, called Troy Glow. And that is going to be a yearly exhibition for artists working with light. But it's not per se for people who are experienced in working with light. And they asked me for a few recommendations for that, and I'm always happy to oblige and happy to see when that works out for some people. So I consider it's like this title, if you're holding this title as curator, whether you're an independent curator or curator at an institution, you're just kind of filling your brain with as many artists and as much work as you can. And anytime you get a chance to squeeze some of that out and create an opportunity or a bridge for an opportunity for someone, for me, that's just a huge win. I'm interested in art because I love artists and I love supporting artists, and whether I'm necessarily doing that in the shows that we're going to have at Art My next year, or whether it's in other small ways, I think that's just part of the role.
Well, that was a great addition, Nicole. Thank you for that.
There's an interesting chat submission from Subpoena, many artists work in too many genres. That is, they sort of spread themselves around. They work in many different ways and maybe different materials. Is that a turnoff for curators or judges? Do they prefer to have an artist that's very focused into one particular way of presenting? That's the question.
I could answer that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if you're applying for an exhibition, just apply with the work that you think would be best for the show. You know, there's artists who do many things, but I definitely have been on some as a juror, like where people submit their work online and they show you so many different things, you're not really sure which one we would choose or what would be best. So I think if you're sometimes it is better to focus, but it's based on the exhibition you're applying for and the theme. So there's nothing wrong with doing a lot of things. I think you just have to focus when you're applying.
Right.
Yeah.
And I see that a few people have asked questions about the days and hours that these institutions are open. It seems like the vast majority are open something like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But one pointed at HV MOCA and said it seems to be only open 2 days a week. Is that true or is that inaccurate?
We're open Thursdays and Saturdays from 11 to 5.
Okay.
And we are open by appointment. People want to come in and look. We do tours on other days for groups or other things. And we started just after COVID, we only opened 2 days a week. So we are beginning to discuss more hours, but right now it seems to be working, and we've been able to, because of the DRI grant, we have been very busy working on on the mural project and on the Enlightenment project. So that's been going on in between being open.
And this is one for me because we're grappling with this at Artist Talk on Art. In February, we're planning to go back to, we always do things on Mondays. And in February, we're planning to go back and do what we call First Mondays as a physical and Zoom event. So both physical seating, live people, and then an attached Zoom to reach more audience. But that has been a huge conundrum, I know, for all the institutions, when we could, so to speak, when we can come out and play again, as opposed to being hunkered down in our, in our virtual bunkers. So what's the consensus of feeling? Is it going to be much more physical in 2023? Or are any of you holding back to some degree about that?
Bueno, we heard from Nicole that they are open every day, right?
Yeah, we're open every day. We do, change our hours for winter. So we close the building at 4 o'clock now until March, just to kind of let people get home while there's still a touch of light. And, for us, like, again, being outside, it's been a boon, this kind of change to a more outside life. I mean, in a way, through this year, I felt like we had, we're kind of in this moment, right? There's the Hudson Valley is becoming, there's more and more. We have things like Upstate Art Weekend. I feel like there was this real excitement to get out and go to openings in the spring, early summer. I feel like that's kind of changing a little bit. And now we're all kind of spreading out the audience a little bit. So I think that it's changing, but we're just going full steam ahead. And if anything, kind of pulling back from Zoom a little bit.
And now with my Dorsky Education Committee hat on, different hat, is it time to bring the mountain to Muhammad as opposed to Muhammad to the mountain? That is to say, is the only way to conduct educational curricula to bring young people and older people, various people, to the institutions, or is there any effort being made to bring the institutions locally to people around the Hudson Valley, either to schools or to other situations.
May I comment on that?
Sure.
We've been back in the schools for a while, and I think what you do is you follow their lead. If they're comfortable having you there, we want to be there. We do, actually, in my opinion, and the opinion of many others, the YES space at WHAM, the youth education space, is one of the strongest things we do, because we take work from the collection. The education director brings it to public schools, sometimes to kids who don't have a lot of art in their lives. They make work, they learn about, historic works, and then the work that they make is brought back to WHAM and hung in the space, which is of benefit to us because we got to grab that next generation of viewers. So when we get kids and parents into the space, that is such a win for us. It's so important. It's really something we're very passionate about, and thankfully our members are too.
Well, in the case of the Dorsky, I've been in several guided visits. I don't know if you go to the schools, but I saw groups coming to the Dorsky very often. Is that right?
Oh yes, we have tours all the time. We've been in person, I mean, as far as since I've been there, and since April, we haven't, we've been doing lots of in-person events. We actually have, I don't want to forget to mention this, we have an opening on this Friday, December 2nd, we have a BFA and MFA show of student work. In the spring, we have like 4 shows in a row, but we also have students who are graduating in December. There's going to be an opening of their work on Friday from 5 to 7. And these exhibitions are, and not to scare people away, but in a good way, they're crowded. The students are there and their families, and people can be masked if they want, if that's what they're comfortable with. But we have seen a really great response to being back open again, and, we're welcoming everybody. So yeah, so please come if you're interested in seeing some of the student work on Friday.
At what time is the opening, Karlyn?
The opening's from 5 to 7.
5 to 7. Okay. Thank you. So do we have any other question, Doug?
Yeah, I would just like to say, and I guess it also relates to ours, we do a lot of outreach to schools, especially in our area in Westchester, from basically the Bronx up to Peekskill, where we offer the schools tours. And also we have a fairly extensive program with the senior population, who, oddly enough, because of COVID, really don't want to come in with the general population. So we've been doing a lot more work with taking them around on days that were theoretically not open. So things are flexible.
Okay.
In on this one too. Artomai also has a really vibrant education program led by Sasha Sicarella, who's been at the institution for 20 years, going on next year. So we host a summer camp in the summer for kids. And then even in addition to that, in the summer, a huge chunk of our audience are kids from other local summer camps being bused to Artomai to walk the grounds and have that experience of sculpture in the landscape. And we also are going into schools and run an actual curriculum where we're training teachers to incorporate arts into their classroom. And so it's not just art teachers or kids studying art at school, it's science teachers, history teachers, elementary school educators on different ways to integrate arts into their classroom.
That's great. So yeah, I think that the idea of a museum is changing all the time, what a museum and institution are providing. And I think that connecting with the community is one of the things that I see is happening more and more. And that is a great way to make people not feel that is like, like a strange building in a town, or a place that is difficult to get related with. I have a question now that you are talking about the community. Do you accept artists to be like interns or do internships, or, it just occurred to me if there is that possibility to help to do an internship with your institutions. Are you accepting? What about Karlyn? Do you know if the Dorsky accepts interns or internships?
Yes, we do, but our interns are students, so they would be coming from the SUNY New Paltz campus.
Okay.
I mean, there could be some other opportunities to volunteer. I know if someone was interested, but it's not really my area of knowledge right now,
No,
but I know that our interns are coming from the art history department or from other departments on campus. So yeah,
Okay,
we have 2 interns right now. Plus
okay.
we have the gallery attendants who are students as well. So when you come in and you see people at the desk in both galleries, we have several students working there, and they're all students from the campus. So
That's great to know.
yeah.
Well, volunteer is something that we know that is most of the time is open within the institutions. And what about WAM? Do you accept internships or volunteers? How is it?
We have a really great team of volunteers, and I'm very grateful for their participation. WAM does require that you be a member in order to volunteer. It's actually seen as a privilege.
Okay.
But I do want to make a plug for, I'm a member of Art Table, have been for decades, and they have an excellent internship program, and it's a paid position. They are focused on diversity. In particular, they want to advance the careers of young women. So if anybody on the Zoom is looking out, that's a really wonderful program.
That's good information. I'm glad that you brought it up. And Nicole, do you have volunteers or interns? How is Artomai?
We have a small group of volunteers, very small, like a handful. And some of those people are leading accessibility tours through the park. So providing access to the 120 acres with a golf cart tour to people who aren't able to freely walk the grounds. And we also have an amazing dedicated volunteer who has been stewarding the removal of invasive plants from the park, Glenda Berman, who we also had lead some programming on ecology this year. So it was really exciting. And I've had like a intern here and there, curatorial intern, usually a college student, and we have worked with the Art Table, but we also are always trying to balance, right, like equity in the workplace, specifically in the art workplace, is a really important topic right now. So, and just obviously an important thing to be, so we're always trying to balance, like, should we be paying somebody for this role, or should that person be a volunteer? And we're lucky that we can make those choices. So we have about 7-8 young people that work in visitor services. We also have people who work in our summer camp that are a wide variety of ages. So, we try to offer employment at a reasonable rate given the community that we live in, which is harder and harder to live in whenever we can.
Yeah, that's what is really good to know. And what about HB MOCA?
We have we have volunteers, and we have we usually have interns over the summer from the art colleges, and it used to be a very large program until COVID. We would have 6 or 7 interns that came in and would come back for several years working on very specific projects. So they had an ongoing experience. With quarantine, that got very sidetracked. So it's beginning to build up now. We've had 2 interns. We have also 2 interns in the theater who are learning everything from theater craft and lighting and all those things, as well as the art in the gallery. And they are paid through a partnership with a program that helps young 20-year-olds who are confused about what they want to do when they grow up. Many of them are creative, and they really don't know what to do when they grow up and where that money to be creative is going to come from. So we kind of teach them some life skills that can be used in other areas and hook them up also with other places that need the talent that we're training them in.
Mhm. Well, that's good. Good information. I'm happy that we are talking about this. And Doug, do we have any other question or any comment that you want to read?
Well, I think it's time to thank people. I certainly thank you as our organizer and moderator. And I thank our panelists, Elizabeth Keithland, Mara Mills, Karlyn Benson, and Nicole Hayes. I'd like to thank our volunteers, interns, and board members. And thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
for coming.
Okay. Okay, well,
Thank you, everybody.
thank you. And I hope to meet you in person, some of you, and have a good night. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Bye.
you.